Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, TDOT. As always, Theo, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Had a really good weekend. Enjoyed the Chelsea win. Met some great Chelsea fans in London. So it's been a decent weekend. And obviously, we had a glimpse of what spring can offer at times. So that was nice. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good actually. Didn't do much apart from obviously watching a lot of football, a lot of cricket. F1's coming back next week, isn't it? So at F1, boxing, a lot of sports, but it was good. Still grey. Don't know. Spring hasn't hit Liverpool yet. It still feels like winter. It's like got the heating on and everything. So it's yeah. But apart from that, it's good. It's been good. Obviously, 3 points. Newcastle. Difficult game. Flat performance, I think we can say. But you was at the game, so let's talk about obviously the atmosphere. I think I texted you, didn't I? I said it feels a little. I mean, obviously watching on the TV, you can only tell certain things, but you being there, it felt very flat. Good 10 minutes to start off with, but kind of like deflated very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of almost needed your text message to confirm it to me because I was quite surprised at how flat it was, given that this could be the last time a lot of Chelsea fans are at Stamford Bridge, given the uncertainty around the club, purchasing tickets, especially for non-members, non-season ticket holders, should I say. I was in the Chelsea pensioner before kickoff, a lot of chants, a lot of songs, still the odd Abramovich song, which I'm still a bit unsure about.
It's not right.
It's
not
yeah,
right.
I mean, I can understand why you want to cheer for your owner who's given you so much success, but pick your moments. And I think now's no longer the moment to do it, given everything that's happening. But atmosphere did feel a bit flat. Maybe it was more nerves around the actual game itself, seeing that we started off quite not like how we should have been playing. It was quite cagey. I felt Newcastle had probably the better chances in that first half with the Almiron shots that Mendy had to save really well. But now I was kind of hoping there'd be a bit more, a bit more chance, a bit more backing from the supporters. But I'll blame it on the nerves from the fans.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it was a really good start. I thought I think Christensen had a good chance just outside the box, skied it over the bar slightly, but I felt the build-up play was there for the movement, as we've said on here before. Kai Havertz, the link-up play with Mason Mount, Kante was working really well. It was just, I don't think we had a shot on target in the first half. We dominated possession. Like I said, we had a couple of chances early on, but it did seem to drop after 10 or 15 minutes, and you could hear the Newcastle fans they're chanting away, and it just didn't seem like maybe it was nerves. Maybe we can put it down to nerves. I did say on the podcast episode we did on Friday, the crowd needed to be the 12th man in that game, because it could have gone either way. It could have been, if Newcastle did take some of their chances that they had, the Almiron one is a prime example of that. It was a good save by Mendy, but if those go in, you're looking at a totally different game, in my opinion. But I want to talk about Kai Havertz, because I think he's someone that almost now looks like his first choice for Thomas Tuchel, ahead of Romelu Lukaku and the other attacking options that we've got. But what a performance, because I feel like he's someone. Take away the goal, we'll talk about that afterwards, but just in terms of his movement, just in terms of his, like I said, the link-up play that he's got as well, he seems like he's making that role. I think you said this a few weeks ago, or even last week, he's making this number 9 role almost his now.
Yeah, it was a really pleasing performance from Kai Havertz. Scored against Lille, scored twice against Burnley, scored against Norwich, scored the winner of the Club World Cup final. Top goal scorer since Tuchel's arrived at the club. He's Tuchel's top goal scorer. He's almost looks like our number 1, number 9 now, ahead of Lukaku. And who would have thought that last summer when we signed Lukaku for that much, and how he started off his season at Chelsea. But it was a great performance from Havertz. I thought, for me, what was better than the actual goal was the touch from the Jorginho pass. I think 9 times out of 10, that touch is going into the hands of the goalkeeper or going for a goal kick. But the way he just controls it down so nonchalantly, and then the finish itself is brilliant as well. But no, you can tell he's really growing in confidence. And when we were recording these episodes, maybe this time last year, when we kept saying, he's had a slow season because he's been hit by COVID. He's struggling to adapt to the English culture. He's not having fans in the stadium. But I really think that Champions League final goal really unlocked something for him. It really did. And now he just looks like he's playing with so much confidence and energy, and the link-up play with Pulisic, Mount, Werner, there's players around him. And now as well, it's Newcastle's first defeat of the new year. So big win for us. So really pleased to get the 3 points and see Havertz put on a brilliant show again.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think he was arguably, like I said, we're going to talk about the goal separately, but the pass from Jorginho was spot on. I think the control to bring it down the way he did. Because I know you've watched it back and obviously he was there, but to see him bring the ball down the way he did, and within half a second, he's already brought it down and it's already in the back of the net. It was almost like in two phases. But I do want to talk about the controversial parts of the game, because obviously there was two for me in the game. The first one being Kai Havertz on Burn or Wood. I think it was Burn. And the elbow. Now, I already had this debate with someone yesterday and said, when you jump, you don't jump with your arms to your side. You have to, you elevate yourself by bringing your arms up as you do. I personally don't think it was a red card. I can see why it would have been given. But you've got to remember, Kai Havertz doesn't look at the player. He's looking, his eyes are on the ball. Or both players. To be fair, it could have gone either way. It could have been that Kai Havertz was the one on the floor holding his head. It was just one of those challenges for me. But what was your thoughts on it? Because, obviously being there as well, you might have a different perspective on the challenge.
When it happens at the time, I didn't really see anything. I think my eyes must have been looking at the scoreboard or something else, because I just saw Dan Burn on the floor and then the medical staff run towards him very quickly. And I thought, oh shit, here we go again. This could be dangerous. This could be go to VAR. This could be Havertz off. But after seeing a few replays, after seeing a few Chelsea fans break down the actual footage and slow it down, like you mentioned, Dan Burns' arms are up there as well. They're level with Kai Havertz's neck and face. So it could have easily gone the other way. It could have easily been an elbow in Havertz's face. And for me, it was a 50-50. It was a 50-50. And the amount of times we see those being given as reds and not being given as reds. We have to remember Mane's elbow on Azpilicueta in the first game of January a couple of months ago, and nothing happened with that. It didn't even go to a VAR check. So if you're applying that consistency, then it's not a red. But if you're actually looking at the actual hands of the players and their elbows and where they're positioned, it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50. So for me, I agree, it's not a red.
Yeah, I think the reaction of the other players as well, trying to almost get Havertz sent off as well. I didn't like seeing that. And, we've been on both sides of that coin. We've had, like you just mentioned, Azpilicueta. You go back to the League Cup final with Keita and Chalobah as well. These things do happen in football, and sometimes you do get them, sometimes you don't. And I think that was exactly the same with the penalty. I'm going to be 100%. It's a penalty all day. Chalobah on Murphy, I think it was. It's a penalty. He's got hold of his shirt. To be honest, the ref for me was poor. He was a poor. Yeah. He got loads of decisions wrong for the penalty. It wasn't actually a corner because it's not a corner. It's a goal kick. It's not. The ref points for a corner, and Chalobah doesn't even touch the ball. So if it's it should be either a goal kick or a penalty. It can't be a corner, in my opinion. Yeah. But it's a pen, and we've had them before where it's gone our way, and we've had them where it hasn't. So I think in football, we've both moaned about VAR, we've both moaned about referees on here before, and it's just unfortunate that Newcastle are on the receiving end of it this time. But what was your thoughts on the penalty?
But before I get onto the penalty, I had to agree the ref for me was really, really poor. I think it was David Coote. He just wasn't letting play go on. He was stopping the passages of play way too often, and there was no consistency with some of his calls. For me, like I said, it wasn't a red for Havertz for the elbow and down Burn, but it was a penalty. It was a penalty for the pull on Murphy's shot from Chalobah. I kind of did look at a bit of footage afterwards, and the actual initial pull happened outside the box, I think. So maybe it could have been a free kick. There was a bit of not much clarity around whether it was in the box or outside the box where it started. But the fact maybe that it carries on into the box, then it could have easily been a penalty. But we've been so unlucky with these decisions in the past. They've always gone against us. So for once, maybe we've had a bit of the luck of the green on Sunday, and we managed to have the decisions go our way. But no, it was just a poor performance from David Coote. And the fact, like you said, he didn't even give a goal kick, but gave a corner instead. It's almost like I know it's a penalty, but I don't want to give it. So instead, I'll give you a corner. That's how I felt in a way.
Yeah. And it's weird as well because Chalobah at right back, it was a bit of a shock to see. He didn't. I mean, it's not his natural position, so I don't expect him to give me a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. And he just seemed a bit, maybe again, nerves. You think you're being asked to play a position that you're not necessarily comfortable playing in. He looked a bit shaky in times, and I think that penalty decision or the wrongful penalty that they didn't get, those kind of things. He was caught out a few times, I think, on that side of the pitch. But what was your thoughts on Chalobah in terms of his game overall at that position at right back?
I was quite surprised he started at right back, especially when Christensen's played there in the past. It's almost like Tuchel decided to switch them over. Maybe it was to deal with a particular Newcastle player that was playing down the wing. I know Saint-Maximin came on in the second half. But in terms of Chalobah's performance, I think he's a fantastic player. We have to remember he's still very young. He's still adapting. He's still learning. But the last couple of games, he showed his kind of inexperience. Why we need to get Rudiger down to a new contract as soon as possible if we can, because the penalty he gave away against Norwich just showed his inexperience, and that could have easily been a penalty against Newcastle on Sunday, which would have been 2 penalties in a row in two games in a row. And that's when you start to ask yourself your questions. Like I said in the previous episode, Silva's not giving away those fouls or penalties or handballs. Rudiger's not doing that. So there's still a lot to learn for Chalobah, but I've got no doubt he'll be a fantastic player.
Yeah. And he's, like you said, he's still young as well. I thought Malang Sarr as well, it was a bit shaky. And I'm not singling out just those two because I do feel like there was, times Mason Mount went a bit quiet in the game as well. It kind of almost felt like there wasn't going to be a goal in this game. Where were we going to get the goal in the game? And Jorginho, I know I've just mentioned it before, we're gonna have to mention it again because it was that good, but the pass was just, you couldn't put it on a plate more than he did. There was still a lot of work for Havertz to do for this goal. It was still, Timo Werner had a couple of sort of moments in the game, and his confidence is just been, it's non-existent at the moment, and you could tell that during the game. His touch wasn't the best, or his confidence isn't there. But with Havertz, it's the other end of the spectrum. He's such a talented player, and we're getting to see a lot of that now. Like I said earlier, to be able to bring the ball down, goalkeeper coming towards you, and still be able to it was almost like a Dennis Bergkamp goal a few years ago, very similar. But it's that sort of quality that we've been lacking up front.
No, definitely. And I just wanted to credit Tuchel because for me, he took off the two worst performers in Mount and Werner. I think he brought on Kovacic and Lukaku at the time.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised to see Kovacic, Kante and Jorginho all play together. But in the end, that's what led to the goal in a way, because Jorginho stayed on the pitch, contributed with what was an exquisite pass for Kai Havertz. And like you said, you got those two ends of the spectrum. You've got Havertz playing with so much confidence, like he's been playing in the Premier League for all of his life. Then you've got Werner, who arguably still hasn't adapted to the English lifestyle, Premier League lifestyle. And he looks like he's so low on confidence. He can't even stay on side. He can't touch the ball properly without it, going for a corner kick or a touch or giving it away. And I got no doubt he's a good footballer, but is he suited to the system and the Premier League style of play? I don't think so anymore. I kind of said last season, he's had a poor first season, but judge him on his second season. And we're now more than halfway through the second season, and he still hasn't really showed many signs of progress. So it's, like I always say, it's questions to be asked in the summer around Timo Werner.
It's worrying times for him. And I think, not to write him off, because like you just said, we kind of almost did that a little bit with Kai Havertz, at certain parts of his earlier career at Chelsea. But I do think, time is kind of ticking out for Timo Werner. Maybe with this whole sort of change of ownership and everything going on, it might buy him some time in the summer, depending on how the sanctions, how they work during the summer. I'm sure that they should have to be lifted before then due to the license. But let's just talk about the table, because obviously Arsenal are literally up our arses. But joking aside, they are literally a couple of points behind us. They've got
two games in hand. So all we can do now, and I'm sure this is what
any logical Chelsea fan will think is all we can do at the moment is just play our games and try and win them as much as possible. But you do look at that table and you do think, Paul, like third spot is not looking as comfortable as it was a few weeks ago.
I'm surprised that the Chelsea website's even allowed to show the table, given how many sanctions we've got right now.
It's a good point.
But no, it's if I think you can't really see on this table. If you look at the actual recent form, we've won our last 5. Arsenal have won their last 5. So it's like you said, they're breathing down our necks. Luckily, thank God, we won those last 5, because if not, Arsenal would be really closing that gap, having not even played their 2 games in hand. But all we can do is win our remaining games. I think we've got, I know fixtures easy in the Premier League, but we've got Brentford, Southampton, Leeds next, who are all kind of struggling for form. So there's 3 games I think we should be getting the 9 points. I haven't really looked at who Arsenal still have to play, but I know that they've got Liverpool, I think, West Ham still, and they've got to play us. They've got to play us.
Yes, they have. Yeah. So I mean,
That's
it's
the
not.
bridge.
It's not all. I mean, one of the things that may impact our performances is if we haven't got the full capacity of the stadium, which, if these sanctions are in place at the moment, means that only season ticket holders can go to the next 6 or 7 games after the Brentford game, which are kind of might play. You looked at yesterday's performance with the fans, and it did, like I said, it seemed a bit flat. So you go back to the COVID days when there was no fans in the stadium, the difference in football, it worked in some elements, but you do miss that crowd interaction as well. So I'm not worried in terms of third place, fourth place. I think we, like I said, last week we're in the driving seat for Champions League, and we still are. All we can do is win our games. But you look at the table, 1 defeat, a draw. It's costly now. We're at that point where we can't really afford to drop points, and if we do, you're just opening the door for you look back to last season when we were relying on other teams and having to go to Aston Villa and just try and make the best of what we did, and you don't want to be doing that on the final day of the season. You almost want to try and wrap this up a couple of weeks ahead of it, depending on where we are in the Champions League, if we're still in it. But we want to try and focus on that if we can, very much like we did last season. So I'm not worried at all. Arsenal got some big games coming up, massive games. You look at United, the way that they're playing. Yes, they done well at the weekend, but they've played the game more than we have, and we're 9 points ahead of them. So I think it is between, second place I think has gone. I think we can say that unless Liverpool have some sort of massive COVID outbreak or a couple of injuries, I can't really see them dropping many points. So I think it is between third and fourth, but nothing would make me more happier to see Arsenal miss out on the top 4. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I'd love to see United do it, but it's a big ask.
The one thing that does worry me is, probably we're all aware of it, Arsenal don't have European football to focus on. They don't have cup competition. They're no longer in the FA Cup. We'll have those midweek fixtures. We'll be travelling to the likes of Lille midweek, probably maybe in a minibus to the quarterfinal should we get there. We don't know about that yet.
The 7-seater.
The 7-seater minibus driven by Tommy T. But we don't know about these things. So maybe they literally will have 7 days or 6 days for the next game, whereas we'll only have 2 or 3. So we'll have to really make the most use out of our squad, like we did against Newcastle. We rested the likes of Pulisic, Alonso, Silva, who for me will be starters on Wednesday night. Yeah,
I'd have to agree. One thing I wanted to talk about as well is Thomas Tuchel and Emma Hayes as well. I think we should credit both of them because they've been asked a lot of questions over the last, 7 days or so about what's happening with the club, and every press conference is all about what's happening with the club. And even yesterday after the game, a very good goal from Kai Havertz, but the questions being asked to Thomas Tuchel was again around finances and things that necessarily Thomas Tuchel shouldn't have to come out and answer because it's not really his role and Emma Hayes as well. It's not their role to answer those questions. That should be someone from higher up in the hierarchy. I know Petr Cech tried to do a bit of a job of that before the kickoff yesterday, but Thomas Tuchel for me has handled it really well. Emma Hayes as well. Unprecedented times and having to still manage a team. This isn't nothing that's ever been heard of in football that I can remember. So, to still have Thomas Tuchel on board and getting the best out of this team is a credit to him as well.
Definitely, they both handled it admirably and so much professionalism. When Havertz scored the goal in the 89th minute, he literally ran past the Newcastle staff and literally celebrated in front of East Stand Lower North, where I was sat. Reminded me a bit of like Mourinho against PSG back in the days, but
Yeah.
no, it was a fantastic celebration, and we're so lucky to have both those managers in charge of our men's team and women's team, because the passion, the commitment, the professionalism they show is second to none. And apparently there's 6 other clubs that want Tuchel now, but I'm confident that he'll remain committed to the club regardless of what happens beyond May. But hopefully we can get our future sorted before May.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to. I think, I've been reading, I'm sure you have as well. I've been reading as much, as possible. Things are changing by the hour, and, you could see someone, I think, the takeover from what they're saying needs to have some sort of formal bid put in before the end of this week. A lot of it, I think, has been approved already by the government. It's just in terms of the sort of governance around it as well. So I think it'll get sorted. It's in the club's best interest. You got to think, like I said very passionately in the podcast that we did last Friday, but it's in the best interest of the Premier League to get this sorted as well, because the knock-on effect, the pyramid of the football pyramid, it's going to have a massive knock-on effect to that as well. So I think the government are going to want to get this sorted. Chelsea want this sorting. Premier League need it sorting. It will happen. It's who comes in, and I think I was listening to something earlier, and they were saying about how they the Premier League need to have more tighter reins around who owns football clubs, not just in terms of Chelsea, but overall, which is almost what I was trying to say on the podcast on Fridays, that, there doesn't seem to be much criteria to, and almost checks, clearance checks to make sure that whoever's buying a football club is actually doing it with legitimate sources and funds, etc. It's almost, going on Amazon and clicking a football club for billionaires. So, a lot more needs to be done, I think. And I agree with that. I think there has to be a lot more to stop these kind of issues for football clubs and football fans in future as well.
No, definitely. Like you mentioned, there needs to be some kind of check before these billionaires can buy these clubs. You look at Everton and Arsenal, if I'm not mistaken, they've got some Russian ownership, and they're not being investigated or having any kind of checks done on them. Newcastle as well, we all know where their money comes from. And I love the exchange on Sunday when the Newcastle fans were singing Mike Ashley, he's coming for you. And then we responded, Boris Johnson, he's coming for you. Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. It just goes to show now these chants are so they're linked to politics. And but no, I think you're spot on. There needs to be, before we know whoever's going to buy us, there'll be checks or investigations in 2 years' time about how clean their money is, etc. We don't want that. We just want to know from off that the money that's being used to buy the football club is clean, and there'll be none of those investigations in 2-3 years' time.
Yeah, because I know they've got the sort of owners and directors test now, but it obviously needs reviewing, because, like I said, if you're a billionaire, it is almost clicking on Amazon Prime, and it's there the next day. So I'm sure that will come in, and hopefully we'll have some good news at the end of this week. But let's move over to Wednesday. Got your bag packed, hopefully, or your suitcase, whatever you're taking with you. But big game, Champions League, Lille, second leg, big game. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I got the Chelsea duffel bag all packed up in my bedroom, passport on top. I'm ready. Still need to double check all the entry requirements to get into France, but I don't think it's too much of an issue. I think they literally just removed the mandatory masks everywhere in public, so I don't think I'll be obliged to wear a mask. I'm excited. I'm really excited. First European away game since Valencia back in November 2019. So I've missed the kind of excitement and the buzz of traveling to go see Chelsea. Obviously, it will be the same kind of atmosphere given all the uncertainty that's happened in the last couple of weeks. But it's one of those games on paper we've got every reason to be confident to win. We've won this first leg 2-0. We've kept clean sheets in a couple of our last games. We look a lot more solidly defensively than we were maybe in that December, January period. We rested a few of those key players, like I mentioned, on Sunday for them to be fit for this game. We've got Havertz, who's playing the best football of his career, arguably. I'm confident. I think, that being said, I feel like Lille have nothing to lose going into this game. They'll know that they need to score goals. They'll know that they'll need to score goals quickly and stop Chelsea from scoring as well. So I think if we do get goals, it will probably be from on the counter attack, or Lille committing themselves too forwards up the pitch. But that should be a good game. I read that Renato Sanchez is injured, I believe, so he won't play a part for Lille, which is a boost for us because he was quite solid in the first leg. But I'm confident Tuchel, like I always say, he's a brilliant knockout football manager, so I'm confident.
Yeah. I am as well. I think the way that we played in the first leg, we haven't really got that many injury concerns. I think obviously there was a few from the weekend, Azpilicueta being a big one. So depends who he starts. I think Tuchel, as long as he can. I think in this game, I potentially would go back to the back five. I'm a big fan of back five. The back four just does it. It worries me. I don't know if that's going to work. But I think we should get the job done. I think that's the priority. We've got to get the job done. If we can get an early goal, calm down some of those nerves, which I think there will be. Although I have got some news for you in a minute, which has just been given to me, which is almost one of the comments that was in there. But I think those nerves will still be there slightly. Apparently, I'll give you the news now. So the Saudi media group apparently have put in a 2.7 billion offer to buy Chelsea. No direct government links. This is coming from Simon Phillips, who's saying this, and also to Bogo, who did put breaking news earlier on here. So yeah, this is literally just been tweeted at 3:05. So it is, it's mixed emotions. But for the sake of the football club, because if this doesn't happen, I think, like I was trying to say on the podcast, administrators come in, 9-point deduction, no Champions League next season. We wouldn't get that. No chance. We will get kicked out of the Champions League this season. It's £1 million. I think it's £1 million a day that we're spending in players' wages, etc. It's mixed emotions. What's your thoughts?
I'm obviously buzzing. We're going to have a bunch of money pumped into the club, but I'm looking at the Saudi flags there, and it's not really what you want to be seeing. I was seeing so many Newcastle fans having Saudi flags in the away end, and I'm like, do you guys know what this country's done in the last couple of years in Yemen, to journalists, etc. But I was also reading, I think the same group, Saudi media, they're not linked to the government I'm not exactly sure, but their money is essentially clean. So it's kind of reassuring. It's kind of reassuring to see that. But like I said, we just need ownership. We need someone who's passionate, committed to the club, who will pump some money into it. So if this is what it is, and it will save us from what could be really tragic news in May, then I'll take it. I'll happily take it.
Yeah. But I think the nerves are going back to the Champions League. I think the nerves will still be there. I'm smiling because obviously for me it is for the sake of the club. Yes, if it's not dirty money, I'll take it. I don't agree with what's been happening in Yemen at all. I think it should have been publicized a lot more. It hasn't been at all. It's a separate conversation that I do want to have 100% because it does need to happen a lot more. But yeah, I mean, it's.
I'm just seeing this now on Twitter.
It's started already.
Chelsea with the flags.
Yeah, but it is good news for the club. I think, I spoke about, I can't remember what I called them, Bob and Jane, I think I called them, who work in, Frankie's or the club shop. These people rely on their wages, to pay their bills. These are the people that are impacted a lot more than the players themselves. So, any takeover itself will be for the benefit of the club. Going back to the Champions League, it's going to be a massive game, and I think we need to get over the line. What's your thoughts on us actually going back to back Champions League winners? If you was a betting man, how much would you be willing to throw on this if we can do back to back?
I'm not really a betting man. I haven't placed a football bet, I think, since the 2018 World Cup. But it wouldn't surprise me. Every time we seem to be having everything go against us in the season. 2012, obviously, the Villas-Boas sacking, bringing in Di Matteo. 2021, Lampard sacking, bringing in Tuchel. COVID period. This year, all the controversy around the club, Abramovich leaving, trying to sell the club. It wouldn't surprise me. It's almost a way of silencing the haters and doing what we do best, is winning trophies. But at the same time, on paper, there are better teams out there. But are they qualified to win the Champions League? Probably not. You look at PSG, they're always the favourites at the start of every season. They were disastrous against Real Madrid. They completely collapsed. And it's Real Madrid's side.
I was going to say, I don't know if you've been watching what's happening over there with the fans, even at the weekend, booing Neymar and Messi.
Yeah, I don't think that would ever happen at Chelsea. So it's just, they're almost like spoiled kids, their fans. They expect them to win. They're getting impatient now that they're not winning a Champions League. No, I don't think we will win it. I think it's almost too good to be true to win it 2 years in a row, but I wouldn't be too surprised maybe if we did.
I think we can. I think it's doable. I think if we never had a Kai Havertz playing in the form that he's playing in at the moment, the likes of Rudiger, who looks hopefully like he wants to stay at the club, Thiago Silva, we can wrap him in cotton wool till May. Mendy, try and get Reece James back in at some capacity. I think it's doable. I do. I know there's some big teams still in the Champions League, not to disrespect any of them, but no one gave us a chance last season. We had some big games in front of us, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid as well. Massive games, big games. And no one gave us a chance against, I've said this before, no one gave us a chance against Manchester City as well. We were the underdogs in that game. So I think we can do it. I think for me, as long as we keep the squad fit, and it'll be interesting as well, because I think if we can kind of almost confirm third place in the Premier League quite early on, we can go on a good run and hope that the results go our way. I think that will help. I think that will help us in the Champions League as well. But obviously we've got to get past Lille first. It's getting ahead of ourselves.
One game at a time. One game at a time. That's what we did last season. Atletico Madrid, then focus was on Porto, then Real Madrid, and then next thing you know, we're in the final. So you've got to have that momentum of just taking one game at a time. It starts Wednesday night. If we can get through to the quarters, then we start to maybe focusing on the semis and then the final, but one game at a time.
Yep, 100%. Before we wrap up, let's do our usual predictions for Wednesday. What are you going with?
I'm going to go with 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1.
Yeah, I think
with Mendy in goal, or are you playing Kepa?
I think Mendy will start. Yeah. I think Tuchel will go play a very strong 11. Not that Kepa's not a strong goalkeeper, but it'll be a very strong 11, probably our strongest 11 that we can field. And like you said, with a back five, I mentioned Lille will score, given that it can be quite a hostile atmosphere. I've been to games in France. They're playing at home. They've got nothing to lose. They'll get a goal. But I think Havertz playing the way he is, I can see us scoring a few.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0. I think defensively never really worries me. You look at the Burnley game, the first half of that, and Newcastle yesterday, it's our attacking that worries me. Sometimes you just can't see where the goal's going to come from. And then you do have those moments like we did against Burnley in the second half, and we put 4 away. So yeah, we need to get a good goal, early goal, first half on Wednesday night, and then we just need to keep it tight at the back, which we do anyway. Defensively, I'm never really concerned. It's always the attacking. It depends who's in the attacking options as well. I think as part of me thinks he's going to throw Lukaku back into the team with that 2-0 cushion and see what he can do in that team. And I think that'd be the worst thing for us to do. I think if we don't have Havertz in that team, if he does go with like a Timo Werner and Lukaku up front, I just think it nullifies your opportunities up front, and it just wouldn't work for me. So I'm hoping he sticks with Havertz, maybe Hakim Ziyech as well, because he's been in good form. I keep him in the team as well. Again, maybe bring Kovacic back into that midfield as well, but 2-0 is what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I think the front three I love to see is Havertz, Mount, Pulisic. Every time there's free play together, there seems to be so much fluidity, link-up play. I'd like to see Kovacic come back in, maybe alongside Kante, even though Jorginho did so well against Newcastle. But I speak a lot about Kovacic, how he's able to have that boost and bring the ball to the strikers, and he brings so much energy to midfield. And these big Champions League games, whether it's a round of 16 or a final, Kante just loves them, so he has to play. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, no, I agree. let's wrap it up because I'm dying to read this breaking news. If I'm being perfectly honest, but Theo, as always, thank you for joining us and giving your thoughts, insight as well, and obviously enjoy your trip. Big game.
Cheers.
I mean, what did you say? 2019 was your last one. So what's that? Two
Yeah.
years, 3 years, nearly.
I don't know, too many lockdowns and COVID months in between to remember, but no, it's my at least 2-3 years in between. And
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to mention this before, but every
The
time I've
curse.
traveled abroad, I've never seen Chelsea win.
We're gonna break the curse. We're gonna break it on Wednesday, 100%,
Fingers
100%.
crossed, touch wood.
Yeah, definitely. But anyone who's watching on YouTube, make sure you check out our podcast as well on Spotify or Apple. We've got a podcast that we do every single week. Episode 56 came out on Friday, I think it was. So yeah, make sure you give that a listen as well. As you can see at the top there, we've got all our social accounts as well. So make sure you give those a follow, comment as well. Let us know your thoughts on YouTube. But this has been From the Shed Ends, myself, TDOT and Theo. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back very soon with a preview of the Lille game and a review, of the Lille game and a preview for the Middlesbrough game as well for the FA Cup at the weekend. Thanks for watching.